Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Wednesday topical video with us, your boys, the two British sensations that are the charismatic enigma, assholes, whatever you want to call us, the British Fist.
Good, Jake.
And no, we didn't steal the patent, and one person who definitely does not steal a patent is none other than NJ.
What's up?
Indeed, he hasn't stole that gimmick at all. Oh, by the way, I'm Mr. Parkin. Not that you really care. Subscribe up above, like this video, comment your thoughts on the topic we've done in the title up above, down in that comment section below.
Make sure you contact us in the link in the box below.
In this video, NJ, we thought it was a good idea about a couple of weeks ago to do a discussion video based on comparing WWE to TNA and seeing what these people out there in YouTube land, you know, which company they preferred, what they preferred about each company, advantages and disadvantages of each company, and which company they preferred to watch. And I think, to be honest with you, NJ, this could be a very good discussion because there are a lot of people out there that prefer the WWE product. There are a lot of people out there that prefer the TNA product. It'll be interesting to see how people react to what we say in this video and how people react when they're asked the question, do you prefer WWE or do you prefer TNA? Interesting indeed, and we invite you to put your comments and stuff down in that comment section below. We're going to start the discussion off here, and I want to bring something up first, NJ, with regards to you. I remember when we first watched TNA. I know you weren't massively into the product and stuff like that, but it improved over time, and your opinion of TNA changed. Just touch on that a little bit before we dive straight into this video. I just want to bring that up.
Well, obviously, for many years, I've always watched WWE. I'm a true believer in how great that company is. Then watching TNA and started watching it after a couple of months. You have to give everything a chance, more than just a show. You need to give it a chance. Watching TNA at first, for the first few months, I was just like, this is just stupid. What booking is this? What are they writing on? And I didn't really get into it. There's a few things that was like, oh yeah, good match and all that, but overall, it was a letdown, and as time went on, things changed, people came, people went, and the booking got a lot better, and the attention span and the attraction to this show actually grew more.
Thank you, Bruce Pritchard, for taking over the head writership of Vince Russo. But anyway, a couple of things we want to do here. This may be a long video, but we feel it'll be an interesting discussion. The first thing I want to bring about here, that I'm going to be very pro-TNA in this video, just to warn you guys out there. One thing I do prefer TNA over WWE right now is their ability to give us multiple feuds and multiple storylines on the show involving different championships, different people and stuff. That's what I like about the TV show right now with TNA. You don't get that much filler, and everything really seems to be based around storylines. And a storyline-based show, kind of similar to how SmackDown used to be with Mark Henry as the champion, usually makes for a more enjoyable, layered show because there's so much there for you to get into. That is one thing I definitely prefer to TNA to WWE right now, which is got a lot of filler in it right now, especially right now in this stage.
Well, sadly, as much as that is true, there are many more feuds happening in TNA. We have to look at the WWE for what it's suffered from over the last couple of months. It is the loss of wrestlers through suspensions or injuries. If they didn't have as many suspensions and injuries, there'll be more wrestlers to fill up the empty spaces, probably more feuds, because obviously wrestlers will be facing each wrestler, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it's just, obviously, WWE's fault. They're having to try and make do with what they've got, which is limited as time goes on. So for that purpose, I'm not really complaining about what WWE's offering us for that reason.
I think this will be a good time to go into the roster. In my opinion, TNA's roster is a lot more, not necessarily stronger, because I think WWE has bigger names. You've got the Brock Lesnar's, the Chris Jericho's, the John Cena's, the Randy Orton's. They're big names in the business. But I think what I like about TNA is they have a lot more of a well-rounded roster. There's a lot of people there you can think, oh, that they can be put in the main event scene. And despite the real lack of a mid-card, thanks to that joke TV title, I'm very glad to see that we've got, you know, X Division, we've got women, we've got tag teams, you know, we've got all that kind of stuff. We've got main event scene. And to be honest, I think TNA's roster is a lot more well-rounded in the sense that you can think of like 10, 12, 14 guys you could really put in feuds and really put in a main event level feud. Whereas at WWE, I only see the same kind of like 6 guys you could really put into a main event level feud. And that is a problem for me. It's lack of variation, in my opinion, for WWE, and more variation in the TNA products.
Well, the 2 points I want to make is that WWE do have a bigger roster. It's just that some of their roster are just not being used. You see them elsewhere, but not actually in the ring. I think if they actually use their roster better, which they could do when they go to 3 hours, hopefully there'll be more of a variety and more stuff going on. And maybe that'll be the benefit. Then you mentioned TNA's roster. The thing about TNA's roster is some of those wrestlers, I know it's the advantage of TNA now, but are ex-WWE wrestlers. So in a way, yes, well done TNA for having your roster, but you look at it and thinking, you are from WWE, you are from WWE, you are from WWE. And yeah, there's still some TNA ones, but they're ones that have been there a while, and they're actually at a time where we're going to need to get new replacements and stuff going in. But the feud-wise, because of the roster they have, the strong roster they have, TNA do have the advantage at the moment in time.
Yeah, and I think with regards to your point about the roster, it's important to note here that I mean TNA going forward always we're going to need the kind of like the old WCW stars like Sting. They're always going to need the old WWE stars like the Mr. Andersons, the Bully Rays, because they couldn't going forward they couldn't really stay with the TNA talent. I'm not sure that was really the proper way forward. They did need to get some WWE talent in there. So I mean, like the roster, like you said, the roster. There's a lot of WWE guys in there, but guys like Bully Ray, like Mr. Anderson, especially guys like Bully Ray, have really reinvented themselves into a point where they're like one of the top heels in the business, really. Especially with Bruce Pritchard's booking and the way they work some of the characters in there.
That is the thing. As much as they made their name in the WWE, and obviously they got the chance to make their way into WWE, TNA are progressing their booking. They've gone through the mid card, the tag, and all this in WWE. And when they go to TNA, they're actually getting the push to a place where their career can actually be saying, I've been this champion, I've been the main event, I've been against this guy. So in that way, I do say that TNA are treating the wrestlers who have moved from one company to another in a better, stronger way.
Yeah, and I really want to move on to at this point onto storylines and writing. To be honest, in WWE, I think WWE has the potential to give us like one massive storyline which totally eclipses anything that TNA can do. But as much as I like these, big groundbreaking storylines in WWE, I feel TNA has a lot more intriguing storylines. There's like the rise of Austin Aries. There's the Rude versus Storm feud. There's Bully Ray's feud with Abyss. There's AJ Styles' feud with Daniels and Kaz. That may be the same old shit, but it's a rather interesting angle that they're working. And I don't see WWE having that much depth in their storylines and the variation in the storylines that TNA have, despite the fact that WWE usually can come up with a big groundbreaking storyline. TNA just has a lot of mediocre to good storylines which can help fill up a show, especially when they're all kind of semi-interesting, which some of them are right now.
And that's the thing with the WWE, again, over the time, over the years, they've gone down cheaper routes but still put on a good show. They've changed their writers to a way that obviously they're probably paying less, or they're probably finding the best way to change to adapt to their new era and that.
The Hollywood scriptwriter era.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad they've done that, but at the same time, it goes back to the storyline. They've only got limited wrestlers. I know we could blame it on the push of certain talent is being a bit delayed, and their concentration is mainly on the top guys that are going to draw money instead of other talent who could be pushed and higher up. But we all know WWE is about the money, and TNA are meant to be about the wrestling.
And, that is a good point. I mean, they do need to provide some sort of counterculture in a sense. They do need to represent something different to WWE. And I think that there is something to be said in the roster itself and the writing. I mean, the writing in WWE, I think you would agree with me, NG, that the writing is a little bit all over the place in WWE with these Hollywood scriptwriters. I'm not a massive fan of it. Not to mention the fact that WWE is PG, and TNA offers more of an edgy product with, more blood and stuff like that, which allows them to go a little bit of a step further in their storylines. Plus, with Bruce Pritchard coming along, I think their writing has got to a point where it's less about the short-term pops. And even though their ratings are quite bad right now, which is a real reflection on, the way the product is moving forward in some senses to mass audiences, you've got a writer there like Bruce Pritchard who really likes to sort of slowly draw stuff out, which can really lead to better payoffs, in my opinion. Whereas WWE's writing, in my opinion, is not there. I've not been a fan of WWE's writing for a long time. I think their writing is very, very last minute, and that is something that really affects the WWE product. Whereas with TNA, I see planning, I see good writing going forward for like the next sort of, half a year to a year, blah, blah, blah.
Well, with WWE, I look at them and think they have done stuff that has built up for a period of time. Probably got their future plans. Like when they were building up to WrestleMania, that was pretty nicely done because they have the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. Then after that, yes, they got to think, like they're trying to stretch on feuds to fit a period of time. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, they're trying to stretch that on over a period of time. I think their booking is there, but it's only concentrated on certain wrestlers instead of a variety. The other wrestlers probably get a pay-per-view. They probably plan a pay-per-view, then think, right, this needs to continue. How are we going to do that? And then that's when the last minute comes in, because I've got to think, how can we stretch this on? But then again, it all comes down to stuff happens in the WWE that changes planned all of a sudden, like the wellness policy stuff and the suspensions and all this kind of stuff and the injuries. So in a way, the last minute stuff is not always WWE's fault.
And I think you touched on a very interesting point there in that point you made with regards to the variation. Some guys just get in and then all of a sudden they're out, whereas with TNA, I think the more well-rounded roster, you've always got guys featured on this pay-per-view, this pay-per-view, this pay-per-view, whereas guys like Dolph Ziggler, guys like Jack Swagger, for example, who would make up that sort of mid-card / upper mid-card, they'll get a pay-per-view spot and then they'll be moving out of it. They'll get that pay-per-view spot, then they'll move out of it again. Whereas in TNA, you've got a set of about 12 people that will pretty much always be featured on a pay-per-view and will always be featured. And also, I think it says something in the sense, I think TNA have been a lot better at pushing younger talent lately with like Bobby Roode, with Austin Aries, with guys like that, with, guys, you know what I mean, with James Storm as well. I think WWE haven't done that great of a job in pushing young talent in a sense, and I think TNA are doing a lot better with their whole concentration on Roode and Storm and bringing through guys like Austin Aries and stuff, whereas I don't think WWE would ever put that amount of concentration on a newer guy. Look at guys like Dolph Ziggler, Alberto Del Rio, people like that. It's just the point.
Well, the way I look at it is that, yes, we look at like Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, they're guys who are going to eventually come up to the main event scene and take over some places. Yes, there are US that are coming in, like Brodus Clay's not going anywhere, Ziggler keeps going up and down, but eventually I do see the WWE having to book these other wrestlers better. So at the moment we're talking a temporary basis, but I see in the future WWE having to make these sudden change of forms.
They will have to make those changes because of the lack of the wrestlers that they have and the lack of star power that they have. They've lost a lot of wrestlers in recent years, and where WWE's loss has kind of been TNA's gain in that sense. And it's something to be said about the star power. Now, WWE have the top star power. They have the Brock Lesnar's, the Chris Jericho's, the people that are going to draw the people that are going to draw the eyes in. And that is one thing I don't think TNA has that much of. They have the Stings that were relevant in like 1997. They have Kurt Angle. They have some star power. But WWE has more money, more finances, and more sort of connections, more of a brand name. So they're able to bring in guys like Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho, and people like that, on a temporary basis, whether it be, which really, in terms of star power and drawing money, really totally eclipses anything that TNA can really do, in my opinion.
That's very true, because the WWE, with their money they have and the bigger roster they've had in the past years that can still come in and make these attractions and stuff, the WWE do have that big advantage of pleasing the audience by bringing fan favourites back, when TNA, yes, they've had legends too, but maybe not as big or as noticeable, as likeable as probably WWE.
WWE rejects. A lot of people would call guys like Anderson, Bully Ray, etc. And that is, a sense that TNA will bring in these WWE guys that are considered kind of rejects in a sense because they couldn't make it in WWE. Now they're making it in the second top tier, and I think that's something to be said about the roster. Even though, like I said, they reinvented themselves in a way, like for example, the Bully Rays, the Mr. Andersons, etc. One other point I did want to touch upon in this video is a very important point in my opinion, and that is the variation that TNA, in my opinion, offers a lot more in its product. I mean, we've seen the Cruiserweight X Division style. TNA will always give us a tag team feud, even though their tag team division, kind of similar to WWE's, isn't at its best right now. They will always give us a good women's feud, which WWE fail to do sometimes. And I think it's little things like that, in my opinion, that really draw me to TNA a little bit more, because they offer that counterculture that I can't get in WWE, whereas WWE will focus mainly on their main event scene and writing. TNA will write for the women, they will write for the tag teams, they will write for the X Division, as general or as simple as it may be. At least they're still writing for various different feuds, which can offer me, different wrestling styles and just offer me a little bit more variation than the WWE can.
Well, my backhand to one of those points is the mid-card especially.
Oh, yes.
Because the WWE, they have the roster floating around. They have, like, the Alex Riley, they have Dolph Ziggler that could be there, the Miz that could be back there, these new talents coming in, which is something we don't cover. Yes, TNA are bringing new talents in, but look what's happened to the recent two in the gut check challenges. They went bar. The WWE are bringing in these new, younger talents, and yes, they're still in squash matches and that, but they have the chance to be liked, pushed, and the WWE are keeping them on. and they could probably become a good and better mid card for the WWE.
And I think TNA's lack of a mid card is something they like. Yes, they've got a lot of feuds going on now, but that TV title, in my opinion, should be like a solid mid card belt to allow progression from the lower card to the mid card to the main event scene. And that is one problem I think TNA has. Although they can have loads of mid card feuds, there's a very big distinction between the X Division tag teams and women, and then the main event scene and the main feuds on the show, and that means there's a lack of a mid card. And while we're talking about the gut check challenge, I just want to mention this: Alex Silva wasn't supposed to win that gut check challenge, and he's now in OVW. But with the Joey Ryan angle, they didn't get him, but they are working it into some kind of angle. So that is my backhand to what you said about the gut check challenge.
And then my backhand to the X Division is the thing about them is that they really haven't got enough views. That's why they've had to give it to Samoa Joe, because they really haven't got anyone else flowing about that could go up and do this for
Austin Aries.
Yeah. They're flowing about. So both mid cards on TNA, just like WWE, are still suffering.
I think X Division, in my opinion, it's not classed as a mid-card belt, but the guy like Austin Aries is well above the mid-card. And to be honest, the X Division is very stagnant right now, and they're trying to find logical people for Austin Aries as he goes up the card going into Destination X. But like you said, the X Division right now is very bare. I mean, who do they have in that X Division? At Destination X, they need to start bringing in some new talent. I think a Joey Ryan could do very well in the X Division, in my opinion. But it is a problem that TNA have. They've got all these various different levels. They've got main event, tag team. They lack in the tag team division, in my opinion. They lack in the X Division, in my opinion. The women's, you could even say they kind of lack in the women's division a little bit because of their lack of new people in there.
Well, here's my question before we go on to the knockout. When Austin Aries loses the belt and he goes up to the main event, who's left in the X Division? That's actually big, credible, and likeable. The knockouts, they've got a variety of knockouts. They probably have new ones coming in within the next few months. And there's a chance they could, they've got even Test now being the knockout champion, so they're adding someone different, so there's some variety. But in the end, yes, it's always going to be given to probably back to Mickie James, Gail Kim, or someone big like that again. But they are trying to warm up the knockouts, make it interesting. Going back to WWE, they have the big name. When's Karma going to return? Beth Phoenix, but they're booking them in the divas. It's not great, but they still have big names that people are looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and with regards to that, I mean, I enjoy TNA's tag team division a lot more because they get written for a lot more. I enjoy their knockouts a lot more than the WWE Divas. I mean, the WWE Divas barely get booked, and I enjoy the X Division. It's just something you just don't see in WWE, in my opinion, and it provides that variation which we do really need in the product at some point.
That is true, and that's another tag belt I've not spoken about, the tag. They're both in the same kind of era at the minute, both failing to do much with the tag team. Yes, the WWE are starting to have these odd tag teams here and there, not really being used in a way that there's a feud. But TNA, on the other hand, they're now failing because we've had tag teams come in, leave, random people being put together. At the minute, there's two sides to this, I know that. But the tag champs at the minute are Angle and AJ, who, in my personal opinion, are better single wrestlers that can progress and do single competition stuff, like in the main event or even to the mid card. So at the minute, TNA are having to force something quickly there, and WWE are probably going to have to end up doing the same, which they should.
And you said there was two sides to it. I'm just about to mention the second side to that point you just made. The tag team titles were in the main angle of the show right now is AJ versus Kaz and Daniels, and the tag titles are in that, which makes the tag team titles, although they're not being promoted, is not being promoted as the tag team titles. They're still in a semi-main event slot, which you would just never see from WWE. And the fact that AJ and Angle have got the belts, two very big legit stars for the company, putting your tag team belts on them says tag team belts matter.
Well, as much as it's true, the whole idea on that was to build up to probably an AJ and Daniels feud. But when they've got the belts on, they're kind of going to be held back for a little while for the tag team titles. WWE do the same about Mania time. They have the main champion and the number one contender. So they do it the same. That's only temporary. Let's see if TNA do the same. But they just need, who are they going to lose it to? That's the question. Because the tag team division in both companies need to be saved.
It really is. And TNA at one point had a very good tag team division with, Beer Money, even though they've gone on to bigger and better things. Generation Me, Machine Guns, Mexican America, Inc. They had all those tag teams like that, and now they just don't have them anymore, which is, it's a shame that both companies are suffering in that sense. And I think one important thing we need to bring up here is the presentation of both brands. The WWE will generally have Raw going live. They'll be in big arenas and stuff. The Impact Zone. Not a lot of people like the Impact Zone, even though they have just gone live and the show does feel a lot better. And I think it is an important point to mention here. When comparing WWE to TNA, WWE generally feels a lot bigger and a lot better because of the way they present their show. Despite the things that TNA are trying to do to up their show and improve it a little bit, WWE will always come on top because they have the bigger crowds. You know, even though Slammiversary had a great crowd in a big arena, WWE can always be in those arenas, whereas TNA can only really do it once in a while to make it feel special.
And that's true. WWE, that's the good thing about having two shows. Yes, they may not be doing the best, but you got the attraction of, oh, I'm going to go see the Raw event, I'm going to see the SmackDown event. You have different crowds here, different crowds there. They travel a lot more than TNA. So they're actually expanding, they're actually bringing more people in, they're doing favours for people all over the place. And I think the crowd's not always with it and that, but TNA obviously suffered the same thing. So if TNA were to branch out to different places, there'll be a bit more variety, a bit more fan reaction there, but obviously in this moment in time, the WWE offer more.
I think one important aspect of wrestling companies is the quality of the matches, and I feel while WWE have put on some very, very good matches over this year, I've always been more of a fan of TNA's style because, you know, they have the X Division style. They also they generally have a slightly faster pace than WWE, which I like. And TNA have never been afraid to put the heels over, which, you know, gains heat and stuff. Whereas WWE have always been babyface, babyface, babyface orientated generally. But the matches, I think, is pretty even here because WWE can give us good matches which tell a very good story despite the slower style. But TNA have also given us some great matches this year with their slightly faster style and some of the talents they have in there, like Austin Aries, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Kurt Angle, etc.
Well, the thing with WWE, they used to be able to push their heels. Like, heels would always get a majority of the push, Triple H especially. But I think at the moment in time, their roster's dying, and it all goes back to the roster at this moment in time. Because they're losing wrestlers. They're thinking, okay, we need to make the base look good to keep the crowd happy. But obviously, in time, again, this is only a temporary thing. I think when the roster fixes itself, there may be a bit more leveled out views, leveled out reaction, leveled out pushes and stuff. But TNA, I think they are doing a good job at obviously pushing the bases and the heels, making it level out. Then it comes to the matches. WWE are good at short matches, but then with the matches, what goes on in the match can sometimes be seen as great stuff. TNA offer the great stuff, and obviously their booking of their matches has got a lot better over the last couple of months.
And I think that has made for a better product. You know, since you weren't watching it last year, but goddamn, their bookings suck, which made their matches seem really irrelevant. But now their matches do seem very important, and and I think that's something to be said about TNA have made some pretty big improvements in the company. I mean, WWE have been very stayed the same. The ratings are going down for both companies, I think it needs to be said. But I think TNA have made some real strides in their product to try and improve it a little bit with more focus on, the Austin Aries, the Bobby Roodes, the James Storm. And also I think TNA, while their heel side now may be very bare, with only really Bobby Roode and Bully Ray, they have a lot of baby faces they can put in the main event scene. Like you've got the James Storms, the AJ Styles, the Jeff Hardys, the Mr. Andersons, the Rob Van Dams, the Austin Aries. Whereas with WWE, you get the bigger names, but you don't have as many, in my opinion.
Well, again, I've said this many times. I just see this as a temporary thing because there's a lot of people injured or are on their way going to the main event. Like Ziggler, Cody Rhodes, Wade Barrett, Kane's there. You have a lot of bases, yes. They're probably going to bring in a whole lot more bases as time goes on. So I think most of WWE's things are temporary. You might think, but it's been like this for a while, but the injuries have been going on for a while. So I'm thinking with TNA, yes, they're going to keep progressing because they need to, especially with all these new ideas and obviously these things that are happening every once in a while. So I think it's all a matter of time. I think that both shows are going to get better in a matter of time.
I think with the new talent in there, even though they're in filler on SmackDown, there is potential in that new talent. But you cannot deny that WWE do have a bit of a downfall when it comes to, really trying at making new stars, brilliantly. Whereas I think, that's just my thoughts on WWE on the whole making star business. But that's just me.
Well, the WWE do have more, let's have a chance to make new stars. Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, bringing new talent, making them have big impact. So in a way, they do offer the chance for younger talent to bring their name in, make them noticeable. And TNA, I think, obviously, it all depends in TNA at the moment on what they do. Like this gut check challenge is going to bring them in, but then it also depends on what the judges think. the X division, they need to work on that more so they can start building up to people to believe to be in the main event scene.
Like Austin Aries, for example. I do think the gut check is a nice segment to bring in new guys. I just really wish that TNA would follow up on it a little bit better. Although I can understand with the Alex Silver situation why they didn't. It looks like they're going to do an angle with Joey Ryan, which I'm quite interested in seeing. So there we go. Can you think of anything else? We've seemed to have covered pretty much everything. We've gone for about 25 or so minutes. We've covered a lot in this video.
I think both companies, as much as people bash either one, there's fans that bash TNA, don't watch TNA, pick not to watch it, don't watch it again. WWE, they watch it, like it, but still bash it. But the thing is, I think both companies have the potential to get better. You might not see it at the moment, but there are many things coming up in the horizon that could help either company get better, more likeable. So if you're a fan of TNA, give WWE a chance. If you're a fan of WWE, give TNA a chance. Just to level out, because I think both companies offer something that you may like.
They do, and I think the best way I can describe it, and this is no offense on WWE here, but I think WWE can give you a better, more entertaining half an hour, whereas I think TNA, with their variation, can give you a more entertaining 2-hour show. I think that's the best way I can put it. WWE can give you a great segment or two, whereas TNA can give you a more sort of well-rounded 2-hour show. And it is, and you've probably noticed in this video, I've been very, very pro TNA. If you're asking me whether I want to watch WWE or TNA, which I prefer right now, it's definitely TNA in my opinion, despite the fact that I know they have shortcomings with their promotion and everything. I do prefer the TNA product as a whole right now, whereas with WWE, there's like some good stuff there, and then there's a lot of shit down there, which makes me kind of tune out a little bit.
Well, obviously with me, I'm not going to change. I'm always going to be a fan of WWE. It's the company that got me interested. Yes, they have their slip-ups, but TNA, I've been watching, even when it's got better, they've had their slip-ups, and you're like, why is this still going on? Where did that come from? Why are you doing that? So still things in TNA that make me think, they're not going to change. This is getting no better. WWE, I'm still going to say the same for that. They have their slip-ups, but like I've said many times, they both have the chance to get better in time. WWE with their returns, TNA with their ideas coming up, and obviously their fan reaction as it grows. So they both have their potential to get better. It's just a matter of time.
And I'm prepared to admit, TNA are in a lot of bullshit sometimes, and WWE are also in probably equally, if not more, sometimes than bullshit than TNA. But that's not really the point. You know, so you're saying WWE, you definitely prefer, if you were to pick between watching just WWE and just TNA, would you pick WWE or would you pick TNA?
Well, like I've said earlier in this video to the viewers, that both shows you should give both a chance. So if I had to pick one, I'm a loyal WWE fan, even though in TNA there are stuff that I enjoy seeing, even if it is WWE based, like the ex-WWE wrestlers, I enjoy watching them. But it's hard to pick one specific show that I'd say, right, I'm only going to watch that, because they both offer something, and I think, guys, they should check out too.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with me, it's more of like a sort of, you know, you kind of sometimes get fed up of watching the WWE product, so the alternative seems a lot better sometimes because of that, and I think that's where I'm at right now. TNA, I like TNA as an alternative to WWE, and I know this discussion video has gone on a long time now, guys, but we had a lot to get through, and I must admit, I'm definitely very pro TNA, and we would like to hear your thoughts down in that comment section below. If you've watched the whole of this video, then you've been treated to somewhat of a good discussion. You've been very pro WWE, I've been very pro TNA. It's been a very, very good discussion. We both had some good points.
I suppose I really enjoyed doing this video. I can't say 100% good about WWE. I can't say 100% good about TNA. So I try to be level out as much as I can. But obviously, I'm going to support WWE because it's the company that got me interested in wrestling, the company that's got most of my favourite stuff going on. When TNA, I've been watching for a while now, a year, and it is getting better. So overall, I'm just saying that wrestling right now for both companies, they both offer something for me to enjoy.
And you look forward to WWE because you're more loyal. I look forward to TNA just because I think TNA is better right now. That's all. That's just my opinion. But like you said, both companies have their good and bad points. So can't really complain either way. Like I said, guys, like we said 5 minutes ago, but give us your thoughts down below whether you prefer to watch WWE or TNA or which product you prefer. And tell us why as well. It'll be a very interesting discussion. We'll get back to you there. And video responses are very welcome as well. And now I'll hand you over to the right and honourable NJ.
Well, thank you very much, people. This has been a discussion on WWE and TNA. Yes, there's other wrestling companies, but let's not talk about them in this video. And all I can say, people, from Mr. Parkin and me, NJ, thank you very much for watching this Wednesday video. Until next time, goodbye.